Hello everybody and welcome to another Attack on Titan tribute game suggestions Q&A video. Today we have a fair amount of questions, so we're just going to get started on them straight away. And we're going to start with not exactly a question from YouTube, but instead something from the forums. Basically, when I posted my video on Mike, or Mika or whatever, onto the forums last week, a lot of people started asking me, well, why shouldn't we add a mini-map? Like, why shouldn't there be a mini-map added to the game as part of Mike's special? And you know, we had like a pretty big discussion on why maps are good or why maps are bad. Personally, I think that maps are bad, and I did mention that in the video, and I didn't really explain why. So this is my opportunity to basically explain to you guys why I think a mini map, or you know, some kind of map feature would be detrimental to the game. First thing is, it would be intrusive on the UI. What I mean by that is that there's already, if you look at the multiplayer setup right now, like the way the UI is set up on multiplayer, in the top left you have like the player list. In the bottom left there's chat, and between the two of them the left side is pretty much filled most of the time. In the top right part of the screen there's like details on how the map is currently playing. So like it tells you how many times the Titans have won, how many times the humans have won, stuff like that. Which is pretty cool. And at the bottom of the screen, bottom center, there's your normal UI, and at the top center there's the time and how many Titans are left and stuff like that. So putting all that together, you pretty much have two spaces left. One is the very center of the screen, which obviously shouldn't be covered by anything at all, and the other is the bottom right of the screen, which could be covered. But the thing is, if you cover too much of the UI off, basically you're limited to only one part of the screen to look at now, and that would be the center of the center. You'd be looking at a really compressed view of the screen. Like right now I'm making a rectangle with my fingers basically, and just trying to put it on the screen to show you guys what it would look like, but obviously you can't see, so there's no point in that. But just to give you an impression of what that would look like, you guys can do it on the screen for yourselves, and you'd see that pretty much a lot of the screen is then cut off in order to make space for UI. Now this is pretty bad, because obviously you want to be looking at the game as much as possible. You want to be looking at your surroundings in general, especially in an action kind of game like Attack on Titan tribute game is. So yeah, that's the number one reason why I don't like mini maps. Basically it eats up a lot of the UI. Second reason is related to Mike. Now basically, if the mini map idea is added to the game, the big problem with it is that it would be only available to Mike, because if you right click, you can't have a map appearing on everyone's screen, otherwise it would probably just distract the other players and possibly cause them to be killed. And the other thing is, it would also be really annoying to these other players who are just trying to have fun and play the game, and then suddenly a map appears on the screen. There's no way to get rid of it. So by design, a map would have to be limited to Mike and Mike's special. And basically where flares are much better in comparison to that would be basically when you shoot a flare, the red arrow that I showed you guys in the Mike video would appear on basically everyone's screen and everyone's character. So it would be universal, but at the same time it wouldn't be intrusive, it wouldn't be annoying. And yeah, it would just play into the game a lot better. Also, let's not forget the fact that in a game like Attack on Titan tribute game, where the speed at which you communicate with others can be a very big deal, having to type out or having to have voice call in order to communicate with others is limiting to the players and also annoying to the players, where you just want to get straight into the action, but that's not allowed because of the limitations set by the minimap. Third reason why I don't like maps is because when Feng is adding this to a game, it adds a lot more opportunities for bugs and glitches to be added into the game along with it, which means that a less polished game experience would then occur, and basically that just makes everything a lot worse for the game and also for Feng. And finally, the last reason why I don't like maps is because the information on a map, is hard to process, especially when you're in the middle of an action game, right? Most of the time when you look at a map, you're doing it at a downtime, right? When you're just running around in an open space, or there's no enemies around you. But if you look at a map in a game like Attack on Titan tribute game, where there's really fast creatures like crawlers, for example, and you don't know where they are, which is why you're using the map in the first place, then the chances are you might just die as you're looking at the map while you're locating the Titan. So the faster you're able to locate the Titan, the easier it is for you as the player to continue with playing the game. And the Flare does that really easily by, you know, it's the same mechanics that you always use while playing the game. There's nothing new that comes up. It's something that you're pretty used to if you play multiplayer a lot. If you bring up a map, suddenly you have to get used to a completely different type of UI, and you have to, you know, understand exactly what the map's trying to tell you in the small amount of time that the map is available to you. So that, you know, it just adds a lot more complexity to the game without adding any more depth to the game. And for a video game, the more depth there is and the less complexity there is, the better the game design in general would be. So yeah, that's just some of the reasons why I don't like maps. You know, I could do a full video on this if I really wanted to, but I won't, because I'm already well into this video and I should probably get on with the other questions. So, going on to actual YouTube questions, Maya Tuna Fish says, I think I pronounced that right, says, this kind of ties into the shoulder and leg hitboxes, as well as the planes map, and it's making the Titans slimmer. In the anime, Titans are sort of lean, thin, well some are fat, and some are smiling, making it creepier. This ties into the planes and hitbox idea because grappling the Titans would be much more difficult with slimmer bodies, and in the planes map, with no buildings, hooking onto and climbing Titans effectively would be imperative. My first impression when I read that was that you're making the Titans more realistic, which is awesome in my opinion. Like if Feng and Jiang really take the time to make the Titans a lot more interesting and a lot scarier, then I think the game in general would be far more immersive, a far cooler Attack on Titan experience. And I think everyone's kind of like digging that idea, basically to just really feel the fear, you know, and have the same experiences that characters within the Attack on Titan universe would feel. So yeah, definitely making the Titans slimmer would be one of those additions. I also think that if the Titans' eyes actually looked at the person they were aggroing, that would also be a really cool detail. And if the Titans' heads turned separately from their bodies, like if it wasn't just locked into one position, but instead it would, you know, it would occasionally look from side to side. Stuff like that would really just bring about a lot more immersion into the game, and I think that would be super, super duper cool. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Feng is going to add that. It's just a matter of time. Obviously, he's probably got a lot more on his plate than redesigning Titans, but yeah, I genuinely believe this would be a really good addition to the game. Joey Broseph asks, Skirazi, that's me. What are your thoughts on adding Connie, Hanji, and Rico? I personally can't seem to decide on what the specials and stats would be, so it'd be great to know what you think. Thanks. Okay, we're gonna start with Connie. Yeah, I'm probably gonna make a video on Connie pretty soon, but I'm not really sure when, like maybe a couple of weeks from now, I think, but I'm personally looking forward to playing as him, mainly because I am a big shipper between Sasha and Connie, so yeah, I just can't wait to grab a friend and just play as Sasha, and you know, one of us plays as Sasha, one of us plays as Connie, and we can do like a little bit of roleplay, Sasha x Connie, thingy thing stuff. As for a special, you'll probably see that in the video, and stats as well, I'll probably make sure to do that in the video as well. But a quick note on Connie, you don't really see a lot of him in the anime. He's generally used as a comic relief kind of character, so I personally think he'd require a bit more creativity than, you know, characters like Levi, who, you know, because we see them so much in the anime, we see some pretty obvious stats. Like, you know, having high airspeed, having high blade durability, stuff like that. Moving on to Rico next. Also, just like Connie, we don't see a lot of her in the anime, but then we also don't see a lot of her as a character in the anime. So whereas Connie, we did see him as a comic relief, Rico, we didn't see her very much at all, apart from when she was really serious, and, you know, that doesn't show very much. So because of that, I can't really think of any you know, any way to really develop Rico as a playable character within Attack on Titan tribute game. There has been talk in the forums though, like in the anime what she does do is she shoots some flares and then she blinds a Titan. So you put them together and basically you get shootable flares that you can use to blind Titans with. So you can aim your flares at a Titan's eyes, and then if you press, your special button, if you press right mouse button, then you basically get to shoot a flare at wherever your cursor is. Next character is Hanji. Now, Hanji is probably one of the favorites to be added to the game. Like, a lot of people want her to be in the game, and if it's not by next update, then very soon, I'm guessing, Hanji will be added to the game. Now, my thoughts on Hanji are pretty much echoed by Shannon Kim, who has like this long ass paragraph on her idea of Hanji special, and basically it's the net that Hanji designed to capture those two Titans at the end of the OVA that was kind of centered around Hanji. The net was also shown in the anime proper towards the end of the series when it's used to capture the female Titan. And I personally like this idea a lot, right? I think it's one of the better ideas for a special that like the community has come up with in general. But there are a couple of things that I really wanted to say. She uses the net idea quite well. She says that it needs to have a 2-minute cooldown to reduce overpoweredness and stuff like that. But then she then says that it traps only one Titan that is within 50 feet for about 2 to 5 seconds. So basically you're asking for an Armin stun, right? A stun that's equivalent to Armin's special, except with a 2-minute cooldown. Doesn't sound quite right. Like, if you really want a 2-minute cooldown for something like a net special, which, is obviously much better at holding Titans than just making them laugh, I would suggest something that actually reflects that. So what I would say is 1 minute and 30-second cooldown for about 10 seconds of being like paralyzed. And the reason I use the phrase paralyzed is because I personally don't think of the nets as stunning the Titans, because stunning would be like, oh, they're not able to react. But paralyzed would be something more like they can see you, and they'll try to eat you, but obviously they can't because there's a net on top of their body. So yeah, something like that I think would be a lot cooler. Like they just can't move as long as the net is around. And they can't do anything at all. So pretty much it's an easy mode stun, but there's obviously a very long cooldown to counter that. Finally, I just want to quickly say regarding the specific score required to kill a Titan. So imagine if it's a 15-meter Titan, you have to kill it using greater than something like 400 damage or something like that. I've had a change of heart since last Q&A. Like back then, I was pretty much bashing the idea of doing that, but I was actually thinking it over, and I realized that I actually like the idea a lot. And Pro Shinigami 15 says something that reflects my change in attitude, and basically he picks out the example of in the anime when they were still in training, the supervisor who was introducing the characters was also looking into the skills, which included the depth of the slice, which is what I meant by the specified damage on the nape. And yeah, like I totally dig that now. For some reason, it just clicked. Like over the past week, I've just had a big change of heart, and suddenly I realized, yeah, like it would increase teamwork so much, and it would mean so much more if you could stack the damage. So if you come in with 200 damage, and if a friend comes in with 210, that's a combined damage of 410, which would then kill the 15-meter Titan. That's one reason, and B, because it increases difficulty in general. So that's obviously something cool. But I personally think that in normal mode, this shouldn't be there shouldn't be one at all. This would just happen on hard and on abnormal mode. I think that would be probably the most suitable, because most players would probably just stop playing on normal, and if they suddenly can't kill Titans at all, then that would just be more discouraging than than actually increasing difficulty. So a lot of people would probably quit. So for now, I personally would think that just keeping it to hard and abnormal difficulty would be probably for the best. Anyway, I've talked for long enough. It says, like I'm cutting up on about 17 minutes here. So I'm going to end the video here. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, ask questions, share it with your friends and anyone else who you think will enjoy it and have, something cool to add to the discussion or anything like that. And be sure to subscribe. I will see you guys next time, be sure to leave your very own suggestions in the comment section below for me to talk about. Take care, everyone.